Hey everybody, this is Ray from Car Freaks again. We are looking at a trailer of a buddy's. He is complaining his lights aren't working, and as you can see here, he went and got a new pigtail at Scotch Locks, which in my opinion should never be used, but that's what came with it. And he's got an extra wire here. He can't figure out why he's got an extra wire when he's only got 4 coming out of his pigtail. So he hooked it up, still isn't working. Chances are he's probably got a bad ground. Bad grounds can cause lights to not work totally. The white wire is normally the ground, and if you look right here, it's already kind of chafed and whatnot. So, and then again, right here, it looks like it's been melted together. So, but anyway, we're going to rewire the trailer for him, and I'll take you to the back here. I've already unhooked some of the lights to show this is the light here that we took out of the back. Went here, already unhooked the wires here, as you can see, and just took this off. So the nuts that came through the back side right here are really rusted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run all new wires, and then I'm going to secondary ground everything. The studs on the back of these lights where they go through the holes, they have a ground that they meet to the trailer when they clamp in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a secondary ground that goes to the stud and down to the framework of the trailer. That way it will have a good ground on both sides. And this side here I haven't taken totally apart yet. You can see the wires are still in the light sockets, and this actually goes this way, so the reflector goes out, it goes through them holes, and it sets in there like that. So, but what we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and run all new wiring and the whole works. I will be putting splices and stuff in. The way I do them is I use the crimps, but I use the crimps that have the heat shrink already on them. So when you're all done crimping everything and tugging on it, make sure you got a good seal. You can melt the heat shrink down, and that's what this extra is on here. So it saves a little bit of time. You don't have to put the heat shrink on and then crimp and then bring the heat shrink over. It's already on the crimps. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my new wires and I'm going to tape them to these wires right here, and I'm going to start pulling them through up to the front, guiding them through the tubing and whatnot, and that way it's a whole lot easier than trying to fish the wires through tubing. It's hard to push wires through a tube. So this way I'll just pull them, and it'll be all right to the front. We'll have a new wire from the front all the way to the back here. So we'll go ahead and get some wire here. Now this wire here is color coded. We got the yellow, the brown, and the green regular trailer wiring. The auto parts stores, your local auto parts stores, should have this in stock in a roll or in a kit where you can go ahead and get the lights and everything already taken care of and put on, and you just wire it up from front to back, and pretty easy sounding, but again, if you don't have good grounds, it can still create havoc on your patience and your time frame here. So get this camera put back into the tripod, try to aim it down here where you can see where I'm working. This is a 3M pad that I clean the studs up with, try to get a good ground, and see if I can get that aimed down a little bit better. There we go, where I'm working. So, and again, here's the wires here. So I'll take this and these wires and I'll overlap it 2-3 inches. Just take some regular electrical tape and tape it up good. And you can tie a knot in them and whatnot if you want to. The problem with that is then it gets so thick and large that it's hard to pull it through a lot of the areas. So tape that up like that. All right, and so there it is. And then what it does, it comes down through here, and at the bottom we'll just kind of pull it through and push a little bit here. So here we go. And there we go. We have our new wire connected to our old wire here, and it goes down through that tube. So we'll continue doing that through the rest of the trailer, and I'll leave some sticking out here so we can connect it to the light, obviously. Get this pushed through there a little bit more. Okay, and we'll leave out 5-6 inches out here. We'll just kind of stick it through there, so as we're pulling and whatnot, we don't actually pull that down through the tube. I'm going to go ahead and continue underneath the trailer, doing the same thing, up, pulling and bringing the wiring to the front, and then I'll do the same thing to the other side. And then when we come back, I'll show you doing the splicing and putting the lights into it. So I'm not going to bore you and taking and just running wires. Anybody can run wires. It's no big deal. Just make sure that you don't cut them or snag them on something sharp, and don't gouge the coatings on them. So, and when you come back, I will show you doing the splicing. Okay, everybody. This is Ray back with you from Car Freaks. I got the wires run up here to the front, and I got a white wire that I ran short that goes from here, and it just comes to the end of the tongue here. So I can go ahead and put one of these round ends on it, and then we'll take and we'll put a sheet metal screw through it like this right into the steel, and that'll make a body ground for us. Okay, so this is the mess that we took out of it. This here was also kind of just put onto it, and a little bit of it was just stuffed into this hole here. So what I did is I put a rubber grommet in there, because the rubber grommet will go in there and it'll stay in place. That way you don't have to worry about the wires being chafed from the steel part of the trailer and shorting out. So, and we can put this back on, that's not a problem, but the grommets are really the way to go. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to take this here, and we're just going to cut it off the old wire harness here, like so. We'll just cut. There we go. And then we'll set up our strippers, and we will get it ready to put the connectors on. Okay, we'll twist these just a little bit like so. Now, like I said, these will be color coded, so we'll put the green with the green, yellow with yellow, brown with brown, white with white. We'll do all that. And also we'll be using these connectors right here, like I was saying. But before we put all this together, we can also take and use a piece of heat shrink to put over all of them when we're done. If you want to do that, you can get these heat shrinks in a kit like this here, which real thin up to the larger sizes, or you can even get them in, like this here comes in either 2-pack or 4-packs, and you can get them in either the red or the black. If you want to kind of color code what's the hot wire or the ground wires, whatever, you can do that as well. Or you could just wrap a little bit of tape around them, because once these are all heat shrink together, they're sealed, they're fine. So, but if you want to hold them together neatly, you can use, like I said, a piece of the heat shrink, or you can use some black tape if you want to do it that way. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a piece of this and cut a little piece of it off. And you can use a knife on these, or your wire cutters, whichever, because I'm just going to kind of sleeve this so they stay together, because the white wire is just kind of flopping. So what I'm going to do is slide this down through here, slide this up like this, and just for time being, just run it down the wires there for a bit. Okay, now this is going to approximately be how much we have, which should be more than enough, because his little bumper comes out to about here. So I'm just going to take the length of the white wire and just cut the rest of them off at the same length, just like so. Okay, and then separate them just a little bit like that, and then use the wire strippers on them like this. Now the wire that I buy from my auto parts store is quite a bit heavier than what normally comes in the kits. I just like the heavier wire. You can run more lights off them, and if you were doing a bigger trailer that had a lot of side lights and stuff like that, you wouldn't have to worry about it. But in all, generally you wouldn't really need wire this heavy by any means. So we'll start out with the white one. Put it on there like that, and we'll take our crimpers. And we'll do a good crimp on it. Now you want to pull on these and give a good tug, because that way you know that they're on there. Otherwise, you get it all put together, and next thing you know, there's a wire hanging. Well, this will enable you to take care of that right away, because if you don't get a good crimp on them, then they're not going to stay together. So there we go. Just give a good tug on them. And on your crimpers, you're also going to notice that you have a couple different looking crimp areas. The crimp area with the peg on it is actually designed for the connectors that don't have the heat shrink on them. And the one that doesn't have the peg on is actually made for these, because if it had the peg on it and the peg went through and put a hole in it, your heat shrink really isn't going to do anything for you, because the moisture from the weather and Mother Nature can get in there And especially if you live in the areas like we do with all the salt on the roads in the wintertime, and you pull this, your wires are going to turn green and they're not going to stay connected very long for you that way. So make sure when you use your connectors, you actually use the correct portion of your connector, your crimper, to do your crimps. Alright, I'm going to crimp that one again just to be on the, there we go. And again, give them a good pull. Okay. The wiring process really isn't that hard. You can find a lot of this wiring diagrams sometimes in the owner's manual of your vehicle. Will have an area where if you're adding a trailer to the back of your truck or your car that didn't have a setup for a trailer, they'll show you the a little bit of the wiring in them. Not all of them do, but I've noticed over the years that some of them have. And if you go to your local parts store, the people there are really good help too, because they have components there, aftermarket components there, where you can actually unplug a couple plug-ins underneath your vehicle, and you put this T in there and go that way. That's a good system. I wouldn't recommend leaving it in there for long periods of time, because again, those plug-ins, if they're not an OEM plug-in, they can let moisture in. I had a couple pickups back in the 80s that I put that together, and then they worked okay for a couple years, but I don't know, 3-4 years later, running again around in the salt and all that, those got real green and they didn't make good connection anymore. Unfortunately, my OEM plug-ins were susceptible to the bad weather as well, because they didn't have a good seal on them. So I had to totally redo the back of my pickups and go that route, like this here, putting them together and whatnot, which it worked out okay in the end, because I had a permanent deal on it where you couldn't unplug them anymore. So, but they are a good, easy way of putting it together. They're fast, and as long as you don't leave them in there real long time, you know, if you're done hauling your trailer and you don't think you're going to be needing it for a month or so, just take the deal right back out, put your OEM plug-in back in, and you'll be good. And then whenever it's time to run your trailer again, you just take it apart, stick it back in there, and be good to go. And I would highly recommend also using some of the electronic grease in those. Keep them greased up good, because if you got grease in there, the water can't get into them. There, and that's all there is to it. You just heat those up and they shrink down. I can shrink that one down there on the end just a little bit more. And there you have it. That's all nicely sealed up. Moisture won't get in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these up. And I'm going to put the piece on the end of the ground there and get that in place. And then we'll work on the lights on the back, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, hey everybody, we're back. This is Ray from Car Freaks. We got the front all buttoned up. We back here to where the tail light goes now. Like I said, this is the one that came off. I've cleaned up the threads and whatnot with a 3M pad. Just, you know, like it takes a few minutes, but they'll clean up. You don't want to get too aggressive with them, because you still got to put a nut on there to secure it with. And cleaned up the surface here a little bit, and the surface on the back. Here's our wires. The one wire comes from the front down the side and up to here. The other wire goes down and over to the other side. And also what we want to do is we want to make up one of these, which is the secondary ground I was telling you about. I'll show you real quick how to make one of those up. Obviously, just take your piece of wire and strip both sides of it. Twist the wire together a little bit. We got two different sizes here. One, the bigger one, goes on here, and then the littler one is for the sheet metal screw that will actually go into this right here. So we just put this on one side. Give it a good crimp. Give it a good tug. Same thing with the other one. Crimp. And a tug. Take the little torch. You can use a cigarette lighter on these. It don't take a whole lot of heat. Some people use a heat gun instead of open flame, which is fine. You know, you gotta be careful with open flame. You gotta pay attention to your work areas. Obviously, you don't want to be catching things on fire, fumes and whatnot, gasoline. You know, you wouldn't want to be working around something dangerous like that with an open flame. But there you go. That's your secondary ground. So what we're going to do, as you can see on the back of this, there's little holes, and there's even smaller holes underneath. But what these do is these wires, you strip them back just like you would if you were going to put a connector on them, twist them, and you push them right into them holes. And what it does is it holds it. There's a little clamp in there. As you push it in, it brings a clamp in, and that's it. If you want to release it, like I had to take the wires that were in here out, then you just take a sharp object and you push in there. What I used, actually the needle part of my test light. I just pushed that in there like that, held it, and then I was able to pull the wires out real simple. So not all of them are set up like that. Some have plug-ins, some have a pigtail, some you know, you are like this. Very simple. They're made to be simple, fast, and easy for the common Joe to work on them, and that's what we have. So I'm going to go ahead and bare these wires here. And then these ones, because what we're going to have is one set of these wires are actually going to jump across to the other side. And one set is going to be right here because we have a right and a left. Numbers. Okay, now this particular light here has the clear light in the bottom for the bracket. This bracket right here goes on there, and then this goes through it, and the license plate hangs down here. Well, this part of it here goes down to that license plate and it brightens it up. The other side doesn't have this, so that tells you right there that this one here goes on the driver's side. Well, if you look on the back here, it says tail light is brown. So our brown wire will then be our tail light or running light. And then it says stop and turn is the yellow wire. So the yellow wire will go here and go in there. Now this yellow wire will not go to the other side. What we'll do is we'll just pull it back here and clip it off, and on the other side we'll do the same thing. We will not put a yellow wire to the other side because that's for left or driver's side only. And then the green wire here will not be hooked up, but we will put it together with one of our connectors, and then the green wire will go to the other side, and that's what operates the turn signal and the brake light on the other side. So this side will get yellow only, and that side will get green only, and the brown will be on both sides. So we will okay, now I just got to figure out which one of these is the one that goes okay. This one here is the one that goes to the other side. So this one here will not get the yellow. We will clip that yellow off right now, and that's just going to be a extra wire that's not used. Okay, so that tells me that these three wires right here are my power wires from the front to the back here. And the yellow will stop right here at this junction. So we will take our light and we will put the yellow right there in that hole. Okay, and give it a tug. So it's there. It's not coming out. And then our brown wire now, what we have to do is actually hook these two together, and then we'll take a wire and jump from there into our box. So what I will do is take one of these and put it on our green wire, which only goes to our passenger side. And those will get hooked up like so. Okay, give that a good tug. Then we will take this green one and hook it up like so. Just like that. And give that a good crimp and a good tug. Okay, so then what I will do is the piece I cut off up here at the front, since we want to keep everything color coded, I'll pull the yellow and the green away from it. There we go. And then our brown so we will take these two put them together like this. And again, give them a good tug. And then we'll take this one and put it in this way. Okay, and so what that does is that enables us to put a brown to each side, and that's a little bit long, so I'll cut that off, and we will bear that. Give it a good twist. And then we will put the brown wire right here, like that. And we'll give that, whoop, yeah, didn't get it in there good enough. Yeah, let's get that wound in there good. Alright, give it a good pull on it. Okay, there's there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to route our wires, push these ones down in there, or extra down in there a little bit, and then we'll heat shrink these up. We'll put this in here, and then we'll put our secondary ground on it, screw that together, and we'll go to the other side and do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the light over from the other side. And show you that these wires here in there, well, that one wasn't, that's all green, that's probably one of the reasons why it wasn't. This one here's in there pretty good. So we will take and push this in there, and there. It's that simple. They just pop right out once you push that in there. So we'll clean this all up and put the wires, these wires, the other ends, we'll get those ready to go in, and we'll get everything buttoned up. Before I actually put everything in for good, we'll double check. I'll bring my truck around and we'll plug into it, make sure everything is working. We will have to get grounds and stuff on it, but we won't be putting our covers and stuff on in case we got a bad bulb. These are used bulbs and used lights that's been on the trailer, so we may even have a bad bulb. We don't know yet for sure. But what we will do is get this all buttoned up, and we'll see you in a little bit. I'm not going to bore you with doing the same thing I just did for the other side. You've already seen that, and you have a pretty good understanding of how that goes. So I'll take care of the other side, and I will see you in a few seconds. Okay. Hey everybody, this is Ray from Car Freaks again. We're back with the wiring on the trailer. We have the, get it down here, we have it hooked up to our pickup, and let's see if we can get this lined up right there where you can see both lights. I'm going to go test it with turning the truck on. Okay, I turned the truck on and I have my left signal working, and yeah, it's working, and you can see the light on the other side is on. Now I'm going to switch it over to the right hand side. Okay, there you have it. You can see the right hand side is flashing now, and we still have lights on here on the driver's side. So I'm going to go shut the truck off. I'll be right back. Alright, as you can see, doing wiring isn't that hard. It just takes a little bit of time. Just make sure that when you run your wires you don't chafe them, or wherever they're going to ground out, put something over them to pat them a little bit. You can wrap them with tape. You can put all sorts of different product on them. You can put heat shrink on them. You can put the wire loom stuff on them. You could even run them through a piece of hose, rubber hose, an old rubber hose. You can run them through that even. Just make sure that whenever you run your wires, you don't run them over something sharp that's going to cut them. That's about it for this video. I hope it was informational to you. Hope you learned a lot. If not, well, we'll try harder on the next one. If you would, hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. By all means, leave comments. Let me know what you're thinking. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.